growing up, I feel like that's where all the story begins.
Yeah.
I think at 16, I managed to get myself a job. And the first time I told my dad, he was like, you know what, you cannot do it. I was going to be like working in a supermarket. My dad was like, no, you're not going to do it.
You are actually known for building one of the first, let's say, tech startups, right?
Yeah.
Back in the days,
Yes,
right?
yes.
In the Rwanda market.
Oh, I had this idea of basically how do we get services to the public? For me, it was like, for example, teachers were spending like almost 2 weeks trying to grade students and also get the report cards out. The parents actually had to go to school all the way to ask, how's my child doing? And we wanted to basically solve that problem. First of all, how do we...
At this point, your family, what were they thinking? They were already against you getting the job, and now you're involved with all of this startup things.
I think at the beginning it was okay. It sounded cool when I explained it. Until months after, they're like, you wake up every day, you're going and coming back in the evening. Are you sure you're actually even working? Because you can't even buy yourself anything, So actually, I remember one time I sat down and pitched to my stepmom in the living room. I was like, okay, I understand I'm not getting paid and I'm sure I won't be contributing anything, but here's the plan. So it was a real pitch. I was like, here's actually what we're building. This is how it works. This is the client. This is actually what we expect to get. It's not happening now. If actually at all things go as the way we've planned them, it might actually be a very good thing.
Is this thing for everybody? People might listen to this, might watch our episode here, and they're like, I'm so motivated to also become an entrepreneur.
It's a tricky question. I feel like anybody can do it. But
Mariam, ladies and gentlemen, let's kick off with, if you look back, what are some of the key events that happened either in your childhood or, years back that you believe shaped you into becoming the person you are today?
Good question. Well, so growing up, I had so many brothers. So I was that kind of a tomboy, I would say. And we liked to play with cables, fixing TVs and radios, sometimes disassemble them for no reason, really. So I really grew up thinking, you know what, I think electronics or computer science was going to be for me. And so that somehow built or shaped, what I was going to be or to do. And anyway, so even in my high school, I did computer science as a major, as part of my majors, and honestly, I really liked it. I liked how you could basically never know what would turn out, out of being a computer science student. You could be a software developer, it could be networking, you could be, you could do so many things. And you had all the options laid out, and it was something new, exciting. Everybody's excited, so I'm like, you know what? I like excitement, so I'm definitely going for it. And the university also still majored in computer science. Somehow I tried to verge and change into interior designing. I really like that too. And, our parents, they're like, no, you did not study all this long just to change, and change a major at university. Like, you have to go for this.
Yeah.
And I didn't like it as much, but I was like, you know what, maybe my father makes sense. So I actually did computer science still. So somehow being in tech world, being that student, somehow showed me being the space that I am today. And I think that's a short story of really what inspired me in being in the tech industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And many people, when it comes to, software development or, computer science, there's different things that motivate people to pursue that, world or that field. Yeah. Many are very interested in, let's say, as you mentioned, like the robotic side of things, like, building actual real tangible things and seeing how they work. Many are interested in what, software is, how they can digitize a lot of different, let's say, boring tasks that humans have to do. what was it for you? What was the thing that was attracting you to this field, or just making you have a great time studying it?
Okay. I think also growing up, maybe because I feel like that's where all the story begins.
Yeah.
I think at 16, I managed to get myself a job. And my parents my parents was not involved actually, because my mother died when I was very young. So I basically grew up with my father being the only parent in a way. And so at 16, in this, these long holidays, I got myself a job, and the first time I told my dad, he was like, you know what, you cannot do it. I was going to be like working in a supermarket, maybe showing people it was like a perfume site. And my dad was like, you know what, you're not going to do it. These African parents, they'll be like, anyway. Yeah. But it's like, it's like shaming, please don't do it. You haven't basically, you have everything that you need. So for me, it felt like there's a better way of making use of time, as even a young adult, because being useful in a way. So that somehow, right after basically my high school, I managed also to get other, these part-time jobs. For me, it was really that exciting, the energy of doing things. And even at a young age, I felt like, it's not a big problem, honestly, for me. For me, it felt like I wanted to be useful and do something different and be a little different as well. So, yeah. And at the university, so even when I was at the university, I was applying for this, the Youth Connect, Youth Connect. There's something also done by Africa, AIP was Africa Innovation, something programs. And so and some of them actually I won. I would win like $500, I win $200 here. So for me, I was like, oh, this actually, this can work. This can work. If I actually keep in this field, then it means there aren't so many people doing it. So why stop, So somehow it led me to keep, being in that space. And I found myself somehow, in Caleb, of course, some similar goal, like trying to know what's happening. So I went to Caleb to figure out what was happening there. I joined the Caleb hub and started working from there, met partners, and boom, then Academic Bridge somehow was born from there. Yeah.
That's and you are actually known for building one of the first, let's say, tech startups, right? Yeah. Back in the days, right? In the Rwandan market. Mm-hmm. So take me through that journey. So you just graduated from university, I'm assuming, or you're still at university before?
I studied university.
Yes, and Caleb just got introduced into the market.
Yeah.
Take me through that process of even identifying what problem to work on.
So at Caleb, after I won some awards from Youth Connect and AIP, so you basically start executing them, because it's not just an idea. It was more like winning the idea that won, but there's also like executing the idea. So in that process, I joined Caleb, and then I had this idea of basically it's more like Rainbow today. Which is we're more like, how do we get services to the public? And it was more like, for me, it was from the personal problem, like when I wanted to renew my ID and the process of doing it, and going back and forth. So I was like, you know what? How do we actually? I'm sure everybody's going through this problem. So how do we create like a platform that lets citizens be able to access government services? And it was actually before Rainbow, that was like in 2012. And that was basically the idea, one of the ideas that won. And I was basically trying to execute it in Caleb, getting some developers on hand. And then somehow in 2014, 2015, it somehow died also because of the school. So I had the product ready, like on the app. Okay, not so ready, but I had like basically something I could show, like
prototype.
Yeah, prototype that I could show to people. And so when basically Boy launched, and also with with not knowing so much what to do after that.
Yeah.
I also, I was at KLab and somehow I got to meet, of course, Alex introduced me to Christian, who's my co-founder. And he was basically working already on Academic Bridge and basically some codes put together. And somehow I really fell with the idea. I fell in love with the idea, what was happening. And it's not like there were so many options. And he really seemed like serious and wanted to really to do something about it. So that's when I joined him in 2015 along with Eve. So we're like the three of us trying to figure out, a way to get things done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was the problem that your co-founder had figured out that solution was already solved?
Yeah. Okay. The problem, of course. So he actually had some codes, basically like he's a software, the programmer. And so he had worked prior on that project as a school project. Okay. So he had like some really concept on how the school systems were working. Like, for example, teachers were spending like almost 2 weeks trying to grade students and also get the report cards out. There's no direct communication with the parents. The parents actually had to go to school all the way to ask, how's my child doing? Or they call a matron or headmaster, how's my child doing? And they'll basically get like not a really good answer because it's not like data based. And so there's basically that need of how do we now engage parents easily with the technology. They can basically get updated on time, on the students' performance. Being at school, how boarding schools are like, a big part of, a big percentage of so many schools that we have here, especially in high schools. And so that, and of course, doing some also extra research, and knowing why there's so many kids dropping out, we actually realized that it was because parents were not so engaged. So that parental engagement is really necessary to keep the child in school. And we wanted to basically solve that problem. First of all, how do we create efficiency in schools by using this system, the system to manage student and discipline and attendance and grading, and then of course bringing the parent part, to stay more engaged. So plenty of problems, but yeah.
Interesting. And so you just briefly talked about what the solution was. Yeah. So what was the user journey of the product now? So who are the people who are going to be using the product? And how would they be using it? So would you start with a school first, with a parent first? What was it that you guys were saying, okay, we've identified these problems, this is our solution? What is the first step?
Things are not clear when basically you're starting up. Yeah. You're basically learning, on the way. So we knew that by digitizing by digitizing attendance and discipline and grading and, timetable and all this kind of stuff, then it will be easy. And it means teachers have to feed the system. Basically, everybody in school had to feed the system. And then so the parents is able to see what's happening at school. Mm. So we basically had to approach school. So we knew from the get-go that schools were our clients.
Yeah.
Okay. We just didn't know how much we're going to charge them, or are they going to actually like the system? Are they going to find useful? Some people were really happy having a pile of files and folders and I don't know, in their offices, very comfortable. Yeah. And so we actually took a very took a very good step where we're like, you know what, we're not experts here, and we knew we're not. So we actually paid Inhomoko to actually help us with business development, and they're really very helpful. Honestly, I feel like without their help at that period, basically I don't know. I'm sure eventually would have figured it out, but they made the process faster, So
what exactly did you need help with?
So help with was, how do we identify? Okay. At the beginning in 2015, we did like some pilot, like testing with 2 schools, public and private. We helped them with data entry, data collection. We trained the teachers and whatever was available then. But we didn't know how we're going to charge, how we go. what is a business model? How are you going to make money? You know, because that was basically, the thought. And then how are we going to, while we're making money, how do we make sure we stay in business? Because you have to comply, you know. So they basically helped us with the taxes, you know, helped us with like getting a part-time accountant who can help us, you know, do some of the, you know, the finances and I mean, things that we were not so familiar with. And yeah, so basically with them, we managed to have like a 1 year, projection. That's something basically, you know, as an entrepreneur, like, what is this? You don't even understand it, but it's there, you know, you learn in the process. So we really got to learn in that 2015, that year, how we're going to basically, going forward from 2016, how we're going to be operating. Yeah.
Interesting. And all the co-founders were technical founders, so all of you were just involved in coding.
Yeah, no, not involved in coding. I think I was before I joined Academic Bridge. Actually, I had worked with some startups, you know, from Nigeria who were like here from incubator called Think, and they were basically also working to develop products. So it was more like that intern that really wanted to learn from all like the business perspective, you know. Actually, that's even how I got to be introduced with the Ngomoko, because that's the one helping with the business development. And I wasn't like technically involved, but I understood, you know, what programming languages and how basically to go, you know, about it. But I still preferred not to be the coding, because I've done that before with my prior, you know, venture. And it didn't seem like I was that kind of person. I felt more I was more people's person rather than coding, which,
And at this point, your family, what were they thinking? You know, they were already against you getting the job, and now you're involved with all of this startup things. And were they thinking like, hey, why are you not getting a job? Just like everybody else.
Yeah. So I think at the beginning it was okay. It sounded cool when I explained it. Until months after, they're like, I mean, it's not like my stepmom was like, I mean, you wake up every day, you're going, coming back in the evening. Are you sure you're actually even working? Because I mean, you can't even buy yourself anything, you know. So what are you doing? And then it got a little complicated then, because they felt like, I mean, why don't you get a job like normal people and, I don't know, get paid? I'm like, I don't know. I really believe in what I'm doing. Actually, I remember one time I sat down, you know how you pitch to investors? I sat down and pitched to my stepmom in the living room. I was like, listen, okay, I understand I'm not getting paid and I'm sure I won't be contributing anything, but here's the plan. So here's what I'm doing. You know, it was a real pitch. I was like, here's actually what we're building. This is how it works. This is the client. This is actually what we expect to get. It's not happening now, but if actually at all things go as the way we have planned them, it might actually be a very like good thing. So she's like, okay, it seems interesting. Honestly, it was like, okay, she said, okay, I believe what you're doing. So let's see how this works out.
Yeah.
You know, but that took so long. You know?
And at what moment of, let's say, that early journey of Academic Bridge, where you're like, okay, this is time for me to take this seriously. There might be something here. What were the key indicators for you to be like, okay, I think we're onto something here?
So we actually applied for a grant and we won. So actually that came with responsibilities, because, you know, when you're winning 20K, you know, from a grant, then it means you are actually, you have to deliver, first of all, because there's that kind of responsibility that comes with when somebody funds you. You know, they're like, no, you need to give us numbers. You say you're going to reach this number of students. So yeah. And so that actually really like opened the eyes, like, and say, if this really organization is really believing in what we're doing, it's actually doable. So let's take it seriously. From then, we knew that actually this is gonna work, because at least we had some money to, you know, to survive on, pay, be able to pay some people helping us with data entry and training, the transport, the servers, and basically all those kind of stuff, because it means we had to go live and get to business.
Yeah.
You know, so basically somebody handing you money and say, it's your responsibility, make sure you deliver. For us, it felt like, you know what? Yeah, let's take it seriously, you know, and so we had to.
Yeah, and what would you say was the first, after maybe the 20K, right? What would you say was like a big milestone where you guys were like, where you came to realize, because there's this thing about entrepreneurship where, the early days, I think everybody talks about in like interviews and stuff, the early days are so exciting, like you're working on this new thing. You found a purpose. Now you can present yourself as an entrepreneur to people, this is what I'm building. And you start earning a little bit of money and stuff is happening. But then there's always this moment where, let's say a couple of years in where you're like, we actually have a real business. Some people are coming in the morning to work in this company, the same way that people are waking up and working at a bank or a serious organization. People are waiting for this money so they can pay their rent. Like this is a real, business and we can't fail. When was that moment for you? How many years in? And when did you start realizing that, hey, we actually are generating income, we have payroll, we have this?
So,
and what was the journey to get there?
Yeah, so after 2015, we said, okay, we have a business model, how are we going to be getting paid? So we got our first 4 clients in the first quarter. And they came with a big responsibility. That came with a big responsibility because actually there's you testing prototyping and MVPs and, getting ready, but there's actually now getting a real client that is going to pay you for your service. So we get 4 schools on board the first trimester, I remember. And we said the system was ready, but it wasn't so ready. So there was so much work to do. And so basically, getting the first clients was that awakening call. It was like, these people actually signed contracts to pay you. So you cannot go back and tell them, this is actually maybe worse. We scammed you, so this is not going to work. Yeah. So we were like, we have to make it work. So sleepless nights. I remember working up to 3 a.m., for entire 2 weeks, because we had to print out report cards and get them basically to the parents, So that's when we knew we're not coming back. I remember the first 4 clients. I always feel like we should do something with the first 4 clients that we got, because they really opened our eyes and made us believe this was going to work. Yeah. So that's, I think, the high.
That moment.
That moment.
And selling to schools, a tough business.
It is.
Tough sell. A lot of people are scared to do that. I'm also in the space, in the education space, and I can tell you it's one of the biggest headaches you can ever have. So from your experience, how are you able to do it? Right, to sell to these schools. Many people, when it comes to selling to schools, investors, people working in the sector are like, sometimes schools don't have money. Sometimes even if they have money, it's a lot of bureaucracy. It's going to take 6 months for the whole school to bring their whole committee together to approve it. Most of the time as a startup, you don't have that time.
Yeah.
Right. So how are you guys able to do that? And what can we learn from your guys' process?
So, that's a good one. So working with schools wasn't easy. First of all, they look at you, you're young. You're basically they look at you like, but you're 19, what are you talking about? First of all, they when you set up a meeting with them, they'll be like, okay, let's meet, let's talk. And then sometimes actually we just showed up at the schools without even telling them just say, we are here, we have this product, we're going to show you. And I think we really had done with the business, with the thing we did with Ingomoko, it really helped us learn how we could sell. So we put our shoes in the school's principal or, students or studies and be like, okay, how are you doing this? So we actually took time and we understood okay, there are these challenges the schools are going through. So we had them we knew, and we sort of, we also believed in what we're selling to them. So I think they saw okay, these young kids coming here to school telling us this system you got to work. And actually, there's some that are really hesitant, but there are also some that I see like, you know what, I have this issue. I don't know how to, like to begin with, we'll tell them, do you know how many students you have here? They'll say around 1,000. So basically, they don't even have a way to know I have like 627, students. So these are female, these are male. So we'll start from there. We say, okay, this is going to help you know. You basically open a dashboard and you will know how many number of students you have enrolled, those that didn't go to class, and somehow that really got interested. Some of them really got interested. And we would also explain to teachers, you don't even have to spend time, like adding up, calculating that, one by one. We can actually do this for you like in a minute. And they're like, okay, all right. And anyway, we do in technology, we always have like these early adopters. I feel like these early adopters, we tried at the beginning to work with we made it a goal to work with really like these good schools. And we approached them like every day, followed up, like show up, even if they didn't answer the email. And we made sure that if these schools came on board, they'll help us sell to the other ones, So we went to these big schools and some of them accepted right there. And the next trimester with the 4 schools, oh my God, we used it. We're like, call these schools. They're using this software. I mean, you sure you don't want to use it? I'm like, they are? Give me the number. Give me the number. Let me call them. And then actually they'll do it and they'll know, okay, these are kids working on this thing. It really seems to work. Parents get notified and okay. And, they actually go to learn about us. And that was our strategy. Let's start with these big schools and we can use them to sell to the other schools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And fast forward 10 years later to today, where are you guys standing right now?
Yeah.
How is the traction like and how is the organization looking like today?
Yeah. So over the past almost 10 years. Okay. But 9 years. So we've basically moved from the first 4 schools we have, 400 schools.
400?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So we, for 400 schools, and not just in Rwanda, we have clients across the East African region, in Burundi, Uganda, and Kenya, Tanzania now. Yeah. And we've tried so many models along the way, how we can grow outside of Rwanda. Somehow that comes limited with investment, with the team and experience as well. But that journey really has taught us a lot, and we've tried so many kind of things. We've gone broke. We've literally gone through all kinds of stuff. Yeah. And with the startup, you say if you can survive 2 years. Our goal was to survive the 2 years because we're like, after 2 years, then we know there was not going back. We were not going to, fail after all. So the first 2 years were the most difficult ones because you're working on, of course, the money that we had got to finish, get into loans, and you have to pay back. You have to pay payroll. Oh my God, I don't want to go back in those days because I don't think if you actually ask me to do that again, I'll actually do it. It was tough, but when you're young, you don't have so much to lose. You're like, I'm still staying with my parents and I can eat and sleep. So yeah, you don't have so much to lose. And I think the traction today and what we've been able to do really has shaped how our strategies, and now we're more planning on how do we grow across the continent. And of course that comes with other heavy responsibilities and investments, and also getting people experienced in such kind of growth. So yeah, that's our journey.
Yeah. And what would you say are the biggest 3 lessons that you've learned through that journey, of building, let's say not even building Academic Bridge, but like building a startup in this kind of environment?
I would say, the first thing that I really learned is that every day is a new experience, is a new, you learn something every day, and you really cannot avoid learning because things keep changing, then we were facing, like when we're training the teachers on how to use this the platform, they didn't even have emails. It was as simple as people don't even having emails, have never used a computer before. And so things get easier with time. And of course, more of the systems, keep coming, and people really get comfortable with technology the more it comes. So I feel like really keeping learning and understanding your customer needs and what else. Okay. So, and understanding the customer means they always have more problems coming in, actually, which maybe I'll also delve into KudiBooks. So even if we started with Academic Bridge and working with our clients, we actually understood them, that we wanted to help them, even the other gaps, where they have issues with, for example, in finances and school fees collection. And it's something they kept bringing up. So we're like, you know what, we should do something about it, So we're like, okay, school fees collection is a problem, and reconciliation, working with banks. So we're like, how can we solve it? So we started with a simple feature in Academic Bridge, and somehow we're like, you know what, it's not sufficient, because you cannot mix academics and money. Like, that's something we learned, way years after. And we're like, you know what, let's actually build something separate, So like even accountants in the school, our goal was to create an ecosystem. So in the school, if you're in a finance and discipline teaching, how do we get everybody satisfied?
Yeah.
And so we started like brainstorming on how do we get, accounting, add on some payment channels, and we actually did it. So we actually started developing an accounting software. Nobody knew accounting, by the way. Yeah. We just basically learned our way, we were doing our normal like accounting not so well, but yeah, tried different softwares, and we're like, let's develop something that is easy, connected to the local banks. And when a parent makes a payment, then the accountant at the school doesn't have to actually write it manually. Yeah. We understood the power of integration and collaboration, and we use that to create KudiBooks. So KudiBooks is now a comprehensive accounting software, and specifically developed for people without accounting skills. So even if we knew that was the network of schools that we had, but we did a further survey and realized it's basically every other small business owner. They're always facing issues with their finances, with their accounting, with their taxes. How do we actually solve the problem at once? And not just for the schools, but for every other business owner, including actually us then, because we're having trouble with paying penalties because we didn't declare a certain withholding tax or something like that. So we actually worked on it, and now KudiBooks is a full function software, with users. So that's how basically, so we kept learning, we understood the customer and also understood the trends, what's happening, with this new, like empowerment, like getting youth to actually create their own businesses, because of course, job creation and so many other things. So we basically looked at also the trends and, went with what was happening.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about KudiBooks.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, pleasure.
And KudiBooks is great concept. I remember a couple of years ago, I think I was running a business with some other partners, and that was the first time that in that business, as a startup, you end up doing everything. And during that time, that was my first experience being an entrepreneur and trying to learn how to do accounting, right? And one of the tools that I was using was like Xero accounting or something like that. Yeah. And I started really using it a lot, and I started getting familiar with the app, right? And that was very interesting to be like, okay, it didn't have a lot of functionalities that are adapted to, let's say, other markets, right? Yeah. It felt very Western as a product. So when I saw that you guys were launching KudiBooks, that was very interesting. I was like, oh yeah, this just took me back a couple of years ago with that experience with that tool. So I wanted to learn more about that as well. So you just gave us a bit of a description there. But how would you say it's different from other tools that are out there? So a lot of people are already using, let's say, QuickBooks and whatnot.
Yeah.
And how are you approaching them and say, hey, this might be better?
So, well, when we created KudiBooks, we put in mind that even us didn't understand accounting. So we made it feel like it's actually like you're basically, I mean, when you're a business owner, you know your sales, you know your products, you know your expenses, your assets, you know, we basically make it look that easy. Like, oh yeah, my sales, my expenses is my inventory of products. You know, I either use them or sell them. Yeah, regardless. So we basically make it super easy. And what we've done, we've made sure it can work on your mobile phone. So you actually don't even need to have a computer. It's very super easy. And it's also in different languages, you know. Being in this market we are in, Rwanda, we didn't actually think of only users that only spoke English, you know. We actually had to translate it into Kinyarwanda completely for a rural business, you know, owner who's actually, I mean, when an entrepreneur, you have to stay on top of your finances. That's the first key thing, you know. So we were like, how do we make it quite easy, you know, for basically somebody starting up, they can't afford an account. I mean, the affordable account that you can get now is like 50,000 per month, you know. Yeah. Some of really people don't even have that, you know, like making that in a month. So we're like, even if you do, you already have overheads, like so many expenses. So we basically made it easy, translated in local language, and also ensured that you do not have to consistently be connected to internet. You can actually use KudiBooks when you're offline. For example, adding like this the day-to-day transactions like sales and expenses and products. And actually, when you get any internet any time of the day, then it can synchronize. So it made it easy even for people that don't have internet or work in villages somewhere. They get internet maybe once a week, you know. Yeah. So we did that, and so basically that's what we've done that is different from the other accounting softwares. But we've also integrated with the banks. Actually, with the help or with the network of schools that we had, the banks have really believed in the product from the get-go, including like Bank of Kigali, I&M, BPR, also with mobile money. So they actually they were like, you know what, with this pool of schools, we can, you know, allow parents to pay school fees seamlessly, and then, you know, the reconciliation is easy. And so we're actually also getting into where when you invoice somebody, they can actually use a biller ID, and as soon as they pay you, you know, you already you see the transaction in your KudiBooks account. You didn't even have to write it manually.
That's amazing.
It's already there, you know, because the systems are connected. And so that will save you, there'll be so much automation, you know, that really helps a business owner focus on what's important to their business. So I think, that's really what we're doing with KudiBooks, and what's different from other accounting softwares.
And right now, as a small business owner, how do I get involved, or how do I sign up and start using this KudiBooks? Is it fully online? Do you have to come to my office? Do you have to do some kind of one-on-one user, let's say, sign up? Like, how does it work?
So KudiBooks, the way it's set up is really easy. I think what you need to know is that it's there. First of all, as a business owner, and you just basically have to know, there's actually this tool that can help me. And how do you get it? You basically go on your Play Store, App Store, download it, and sign up and start using it. And we give every user like 30 days free trial. And they can literally check how it's working, get some reports, and start paying. And we charge starting from $5, or maybe in Rwanda from 5,000 Rwandan francs, which is, I think, is so affordable. We went through so much discovering how much can we charge, what is affordable to an urban and rural young entrepreneur or youth entrepreneur. Even basically we do have packages starting from 5,000, and that's really grow depending on how many features you want to access, how many users do you want to add on to like to your KudiBooks account. So yeah, it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so for the bank integration, so how do you need like an authorization from the bank and stuff?
So the systems with the banks are already connected.
Okay.
So what we do is that you have to fill a form as a business owner and say, okay, this is my account. You allow basically us and the bank to automate such transactions. Yeah. Oh, so it's as easy as that. So they know this money, if somebody is disability, this belongs to this company, and straight on.
Okay.
You're all set.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I might become one of your clients.
Yes.
Very soon.
It's actually very good for businesses that have businesses that pay the same amount. For example, if you're invoicing clients and that are paying, the same, for example, they're paying like 100,000 every month. How do you a subscription or even like recurring fees, like for example, could be paying for security,
Yeah.
And so these security companies are like, no, we have people paying us 100,000. How to identify who has paid, who has not? And sometimes they invoice you twice. So, so it's actually meant also for such kind of, businesses that receive some payments and they can identify who paid.
Yeah. Are you taking out all the young graduates who are taking on some clients as accountants?
Not at all.
Part-time accountants?
Not at all. I make it easy, for them.
Yeah.
So actually, we are, at some point, as a business owner, if you're basically the only person working on your product and you really mean what you're doing and you see growth, you definitely are going to need an accountant, whether they like it or not.
Yeah.
It's that part you cannot miss. But we do want, even when you have an accountant to take care of those finances, they have a tool that they can use. Okay. These tools, of course, we're humans, we make errors. It's either way you will still have to use something regardless. Some people write in the notebooks. Others use some Excel sheet or some other software they find online. However, we do want to make sure that when you get to that point when you need an accountant, they have a tool that they can use.
Yeah.
And not just and we do want to extend our services. For example, if you're a business owner consistently using KudiBooks, we realize that some banks are now getting familiar with the business transactions, for example, how much you get in, out, and you can actually get a loan, from that. But most of businesses don't even have those records ready. So how does a bank loan you money if they don't have those records? How much you make, the products you have, they have no idea. So we believe this KudiBooks is a tool that can really not just give you, help you with your financial records, but can actually facilitate getting loans, from finance, from banks and, microfinances, stuff like that.
Yeah. You should, maybe you're already looking into it, integrating with RA.
Yes, we are. We actually we are in already doing the integrations with RA. Yeah. So you can have basically invoice that are already EBM. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. Great product. What's the traction since you started it?
So KudiBooks, we've actually not done any super marketing because we started last year with the application. We get our early users to tell us and test the product. Actually, real users, and we've been able, without any marketing, we've been able to reach the 2,000 downloads.
2,000 downloads. That's amazing.
App downloads, and so now we got enough feedback, implemented it, and now we believe it's that time, when we start making sure every business owner gets to hear or know about KudiBooks and use it in their day-to-day, business lives.
Yeah, that's amazing. Do you feel like the experience you got from Academic Bridge made it easier for you to be able to start a new business, let's say,
absolutely,
for example, and run it? And what do you think, what things did you bring from the Academic Bridge experience into KudiBooks?
Oh, a lot, honestly. Well, speaking of that, I'm the CEO of both companies now.
Oh, we're going to get into that. How are you doing that, by the way?
Yeah. I'm the CEO of both companies at the moment. And there's really so much you really don't have to do twice because you've done it already before. And it also got easier, with raising investments. I mean, those, moments, and it becomes easier. You really even get to speak, you get to understand more of your product and how you present it and the vision you have, the goal, and usually people get to buy into your vision, your goal, like what are your aspirations? It is really something you're passionate about. And when people really see, I realize when people see passion and visionary, like you're basically looking forward to get to this, a big number of users and in this kind of places. We do have actually people joining KudiBooks from Nigeria, from West Africa, which is, I don't know, something we never anticipated, but it's happening, so it's new learning. So there's really so much we've learned from Academic Bridge and implementing directly into KudiBooks, and also some things we've learned from KudiBooks and also implementing it into Academic Bridge. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about a hot topic in the entrepreneurial and startup world, right? Two things there. One is building an SME versus building a startup. What's the difference between that? Because there's a new wave of, people running away from, trying to build cool technologies that might be either advanced or this for the market that they're in. But also another thing when it comes to raising funding versus bootstrapping business, right? What's your take on that? And from your experience of, building in the tech space, how has that, let's say, mentality change? How has been your approach changing? Especially now you're building a new company. What were some of the things that you were like, oh, I was so naive when I was building my first company? Like, this is the right way to do that. And I feel like a lot of people might benefit from that, especially if they're getting started with their entrepreneurial journey.
It's a very good question. I think when there's bootstrapping and investment, maybe I'll start from there. I think you cannot run from bootstrapping as a startup, especially a tech startup. I feel like that is something you cannot skip most times, I would say. And that really gives you an idea of what this can be if you actually were not bootstrapping. So bootstrapping helps you get your first clients, get your first product out there. People get a taste of it. And now that's when you start rather think of investment. Now, how do we make so many people now get to use this product? And of course, that comes with lots of responsibility because investment, of course, helps you recruit many people to help you, get to your journey. And I remember actually one time I told my investors, I told them, I really think I have no experience growing this company outside of Rwanda, outside, here. And I was really like honest. I told them, and I really don't want to be that person that doesn't let it grow, like basically be an SME. I really wanted to be like across, basically be a product that we can use across the entire, African continent, even beyond. And it's that feeling of you don't want it to be a startup, I don't know for how long that can be a startup, but at some point you have to really basically, I don't know, make it,
Yeah.
I don't know, be a unicorn, whatever. But that's exactly what I was aiming at. I was like, how do we get this business that has successfully worked here to get it across all over the other region? And what would that take? For me, it was based on experience. I understood the market here, but I was like, let's get somebody to help us, grow this. I'm happy to basically lay back a little and see how this can turn out.
Yeah.
It's not something that, they somehow considered that.
Yeah.
But they were like, you know what? They were somehow, they thought the way you're thinking, I think we can use that to grow across the other. I'm like, okay, maybe with the right help, yes, I'm sure. Yeah. So I think it's that stage you reach and you're like, you know what, you don't want this to be a small, like, you know, medium. So you really want this to be a macro, like big.
Yeah.
You know? And so there's that stage you reach, and I can see I'm trying to avoid anything that will make KudiBooks, you know, stay long, not growing. Because now I understand what is it to run software as a service. You actually can grow without even being present in that country.
Yeah.
You know, which is something we're working towards that. You know, we're like, let's create everything. So like independently, a client stumble on this product, they had it somewhere or see it somewhere, they actually sign up, use it without no support, you know? And that's actually now the kind of product we do want to really develop. And that's something I wouldn't have thought, like, you know, when I was bootstrapping to the Academic Bridge. But this is something now I see that you really get to understand that, and also see how other tech companies have developed. You use what is that thing you pay for? Like Netflix, you know, you pay for it every month, you know. I mean, and they never really have to sell you directly, you know. Basically, everything is super easy, straightforward. You understand anything. They give you all the guidelines that you need. Privacy, everything is basically done without nobody basically helping you out, I mean, or assisting you. So that's basically what we are trying now to, that place of jumping from being an SME to actually being, you know, that company that actually is micro and big.
Yeah.
And that's really what I would share. And of course that comes with getting experience, people who are smarter than you on the team, who've done this before, experienced, and they're sold into the vision and they want to jump to the next step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I think you touched on a very important point there, which is, and I think it's a big mistake a lot of first-time founders make when it comes to building a company. It's, you know, you build a company that needs so much support for people to use it.
Yeah.
That they need you. Like you have to physically be there to do it for them. And we never really think about scale, that somebody should be able to get into it, use the thing, and get out without ever interacting with you, the person. And that is true scale.
That is true scale,
right?
Exactly.
And that is what makes you a real, let's say, startup, right? Because a startup is an innovative company that, you know, wants to achieve high growth.
Yeah.
And the only way to do that is to, you know, if you can get as many people as possible to jump on it. Yeah. Very interesting. Is this thing for everybody? People might listen to this, might watch our episode here, and they're like, I'm so motivated to also become an entrepreneur. I see myself in Mariam and her story. Oh, I've seen her, you know, on pitching competitions, traveling the world, meeting all these world leaders and stuff. Yeah. And I want that life. I want to become like that. I want to quit my job, find something bigger to work on. And that person is motivated to become an entrepreneur.
Yep.
From your experience, is it for everyone?
It's a tricky question. I feel like anybody can do it, but not everybody has the guts to do it. Yeah.
Also, okay, everybody can do it. Can everybody succeed?
Well, so most, I think when you work on something, you have there's being successful at it and there's failure at the same time. I mean, you expect both. Okay. But anyway, you stay optimistic and actually, you know, expect the best, you know, from your venture. However, I would say some, I don't know, like there's also luck, I think, along the way. I think that comes with it. If maybe somebody is watching me or listening or have seen me maybe with the travels and meeting different kind of people, I don't think those people would have made me at the first instance. I think it's the way you also fall into that kind of like you're passionate about something. So you basically, whatever it takes, like I want to be in that room, you want to sit on that table, and I don't care how I got together. You just have to get there. And, so you basically, you have to be, open about so many things and listen, and you have to learn a lot in the shortest time possible. So I don't think it's meant for everybody, because I think human nature, we can literally don't need so much to survive. And I feel like, as soon as we get that survival mode, then everybody gets comfortable, and there are those people that really keep pushing, not regardless, even after I've seen actually the most very successful people, it's like they never stop. You're like, when do you get to stop? They don't, for them, it's that drive, it's that something inside them that is stronger than themselves, and I don't think we all have that. And it doesn't have to be anyway. Honestly, sometimes I'm like, I really see people's life that are, they're very, very, very comfortable. Once you're an entrepreneur, you don't get to spend that much time with your family, especially because you're working. And sometimes you really get to admire what those people have, because that drive that is pushing you to work harder, many hours. Other people, they really use it to build beautiful families, beautiful surroundings, beautiful memories. That's basically, honestly, I would say everybody can choose what journey they want to go for, and it's okay. It's definitely okay. Not everybody is supposed to be an entrepreneur. If everybody was an entrepreneur, then who gets to work for the entrepreneurs? Yeah. So it's, there's always that balance, that comes with, things somehow work out, and it's okay for everybody to choose what they want to do.
Earlier, you say that, when you're looking back at the experience of building your first company, you're like, if I was to choose, I wouldn't have done it. If I was to go back, maybe I would have chosen a different route. Yeah. What did you mean by that?
Okay. So the journey is tough, but I think yields really great results. And so it's that fear that I don't know what to do next. And I don't think really anybody wants to be in that spot. It's not comfortable, place to be, because you don't know, okay, how am I going to pay my next rent or my next meal? Or I don't know. So there's that. And actually, of course, with that responsibility also that comes with not so many choices, left on the table. And I'm speaking this because I'm a mom, and I understand what if actually I was starting over the same way I was like back then. Will I be able to support my kid? Will I take my kid to school? There's so many questions, at this point that I don't think I'll be able to actually do it at this time. It will be so much more difficult. Yeah. And I definitely don't want my kid to stuff, So it's, it's that. It's, I don't know. I don't think I'll still do it over and over again, but I think the circumstances at this time might make me choose a different path. Yeah.
And I agree with you. I think one of the things that I'm learning from your story and experience is it's the same thing. It's you have to. It's a choice. You have to make that choice. And I think if somebody is interested, because a lot of people who listen and watch, this episode, this podcast, are aspiring entrepreneurs themselves. And they're really trying to understand the stories of the entrepreneurs who've, made it. And I think the thing that keeps coming back is if your will, your why is strong enough, then please, by any means, go for it, right? But if it is not strong enough, if you're trying to become an entrepreneur because you want the great things of it, that you see on the outside, it might not be the right motivation, right? Because the journey is really tough. And for people to get to where they are, they had to do a lot of sacrifices in the back to get there. And for many years, it's very painful as a journey. And the only thing that can keep you sane in your head is if your why is strong enough.
Absolutely.
So identifying that why, I think that's really what the key takeaway here is. What are you excited about that's coming up?
Oh, I mean, a lot. Gosh. So there's so much we're working on right now, and I'm excited about, like I mentioned about not being a startup, like not staying a startup, actually like growing. And there's a whole way of thinking and doing things that we're changing. And I'm excited to see where that is going to go. I'm like, that thrill, I'm like, I want to see. And so it's what we have planned and achieving it, and the journey, and the process, of getting there. Of course, you get angry, you get sad, you get overworked, you get what, crazy hours, crazy amount of time. But I'm really excited to see where that is going, and I'm the kind of person who, when I'm doing something and I like it, I'm definitely going to enjoy the process, and I think that's really what keeps me sane, because at some point, I have to stop, at some point. But you're like, you know what? Let me see. I mean, let's try this differently. Let's see how this is going to turn out.
Yeah.
So that whole process, the whole journey really excites me individually, and the growth itself.
Yeah. Mariam, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for the work that you've done and you keep doing in the education space in Africa, the work that you're starting to do in the financial sector as well. Thank you so much, and for coming on this episode and telling us about your story. Yeah. And we're excited about your journey.
Thank you, Yusuf. You're one of the few people really that I look up to here, and really hardworking. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how many hours you have a day, but it doesn't seem like we have normal hours, the same hours that we do. But yeah, you're doing a great job, and we see it, we believe in it, and we hope you succeed.
I'm trying. Thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting me today.
Cheers.